Hello and welcome. This video is all about how to set up or run what we call a comparative market analysis or a CMA through the Denver MLS. So the Denver MLS is RE Colorado. You're going to hear me say that a few times throughout some of these videos. But RE Colorado, looking for any sort of Denver property, you want the most recent and accurate comps in order to figure out a valuation for a prospective listing. And then also for a prospective buyer, if you're running comps on a property that they may want to make an offer on. So we're going to tackle both today in this video, just simply because the buyer's comps for a property they want to make an offer on kind of ends right around the time you're putting together this nice, pamphlet, if you will, for your prospective sellers. So let's dive right in. What we're going to do first is go to search. We want to do a residential search. So let's pretend that I have a property over in Longmont. I'll figure out the map area when we get to that time. And we are looking to have a listing appointment. I want to know what their home's worth. And for the purposes of this, let's use some real base information. I'm looking for anything that has a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage comparison of right around 2,000 square foot total and finished. So we're looking for, in this particular video, not only active properties, and so some people ask me, well, if you're looking for a comp search, you're looking to do a CMA for a prospective listing, aren't you going to want to focus on sold properties? Absolutely, 100% yes, a sold property valuation will get you close. However, there's two ways to look at the value of real estate. One is through comparative properties or sold properties. That gets you basically a roundabout area of what the home is worth um, in the sold world. And what I mean by the sold world is sold properties were just that, sold in the past. So an appraiser can go anywhere from back from 3 months, 6 months, all the way up to a year. They like to use the most relevant information. But for example, it is May 14th of 2020 today. If I find a bunch of properties that were sold last fall, is that really indicative of where the market is today? So I want to know kind of where my closed units or my closed properties stack up in value in comparison to what's active on the market. You see, you're going to be placing an active listing on the market, so you need to know your competition. So it's always my rule of thumb. You always want to compare actives as well as closed properties. I also like to see what's going under contract. Sometimes there's a huge discrepancy between what's under contract and what's still active. Sometimes the active listings are just that, they're overpriced. And then we can have that conversation with our seller so that way in the hopes that they don't overprice their house and cause it to sit on the market as well. So I like to compare all three. The system is set to go back 180 days or 6 months. Again, you're able to go back a full year. I highly recommend you go back 3 to 6 months at the most until you're just stuck and you can't find any other comps. So select those there. You want to know what type of property you're looking for, so make sure you select the type that you're comparing. And then again, in any search, in any CMA, in any MLS, less is more. So we're going to start off with a very base run through. And we're going to leave all of these blank. Go back up to our map search. And I really like the Fox Hill neighborhood. So let me go over to the Fox Hill Longmont neighborhood. And let's say I have a listing coming up in here. Actually, let's not use that. Let's use something with a little bit more sold property. Let's go to the neighborhood straight over this way. I think this is called Wolf Creek. So again, we don't have very many pieces of criteria in here. However, there's quite a few different things in here. There's a $1.2 million listing. So throughout this, I'm sure this list will get a little shorter, but let's make our map search. All right. And then we can go back to criteria. Again, I kind of go through the columns in a linear linear order, if you will. So I like the map search. I'm not searching any sort of subdivision type. Less is more. And going up here, I'm not putting in a price. So on a CMA search or a comparative market analysis search, I do not want to put in a price. And the reason being is I'm trying to come up with a price. And so if you restrict the system, you may or may not miss out on some very valid comps to support the value. So leave price alone when you're working with a seller doing a comp search. I'm looking for anywhere between 3 to 4 bedrooms. So my rule of thumb is if I have a prospective property that is a 3-bedroom home, I don't want to look for 5-bedroom homes and I don't want to look for 2-bedroom homes. And this will come with time and experience. However, there's a big price difference in the value of homes between 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. And then there's less of a value change between 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms, although there definitely is a little bit of a value change. But then 4 bedrooms to 5 bedrooms, or I should say 3 to 5 bedrooms, there can be a pretty big discrepancy there. So I'm looking for as close as I can get. So I'm looking for a 3-bed to 4-bedroom home and anywhere between a 2-bath and 3-bath home. If I need to get real specific, I'll go down here and actually list out where the bedrooms are. So for instance, some properties have 4 bedrooms and there's only 2 bedrooms up on the second story. And then the other 2 bedrooms are all the way downstairs, maybe 2 stories down below in the basement. And for a family who maybe the family has, say, 3 kids, that property very well might not work for them. They may need to have all 3 bedrooms or all 4 bedrooms on the upper level. But again, less is more in this search, but there is a valuation between that. So a 2-bedroom or a 4-bedroom house with 2 bedrooms up can be worth a lot less than a house with 3 to 4 bedrooms on the same level. And that's just typical with families and different things of that nature. So be careful, less is more. Total square foot. So like I said, we have a 2,000 square foot home. My rule of thumb is anywhere between 200 to 300 to 500 square foot on either end. But again, I want to hone in. I want to try and get as close as I can. I gravitate towards more of a 300 square foot range, and then I'll narrow it down to 200 square foot if I have too many properties pull up. And if I have not enough properties pull up, I'll do a 500 square foot range. So we have a 2,000 square foot subject home. We're going to put in 1,700 square feet at a minimum up to a 2,300 square foot maximum. So that's very important. You can really have some great looking comps, but if you show your sellers any sort of valuation, maybe say of 1,000 square foot more than what they have or 1,000 square foot less than what they have, you're really not telling the story. You're really not picking up on what the market will do with that size of home. You can also search by year built. I tend to leave year built out unless I'm searching a very large area. We're just simply searching that subdivision. An appraiser can go a mile out. However, they like to stay in the subdivision. So I start with the subdivision, and if I'm not pulling enough comps, I will actually expand it out and maybe do a radius search. If I do a radius search and I expand outside of the subdivision, then I may or may not want to put in a year built parameter. You see, a house built in 2006, same specs, 2,000 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath house, can have a lot different valuation than something built in 1920s. So use it to your advantage, but as long as you have the square foot there, as long as you're looking in the actual subdivision that you're looking in, all of your year built should be around the same area, and you should be just fine leaving out. The year built requirement. Lot size, again, I leave it blank for now unless I come into some issues. So far, we have 4 different properties pulling up. So 4 is a pretty decent number. I kind of look for anywhere between 6 and 7, so that way I can be selective. Some of these in here might be active listings. Some of them might be pendings. We are really trying to dial this in to find at least 3 sold properties. So I'm going to go in here, search, and it looks like we only have 2 closed properties. So before I even start to look into any of this, I want to go back to criteria, and I want to play with this. I want to open this up so that way I can start to see where other sold homes are listed. I want to start to have at least 3 sold properties. So the first thing I might do is I might open up the bathrooms. There could be a 4-bathroom house. Maybe somebody's got this makeshift bathroom in the basement, but technically it really only has maybe 3. So let's open that up and go 2 plus, and then see if that changes anything. So that added 1. Let me see what that looks like here. And that gave us our 3rd closed property. I'm still, just by looking at this, there's a little bit of a gap. There's one that listed at 420, and the lowest one looks like at 385. So I like to narrow my gap down to about a $20,000 range if possible. So let's see about playing with this a little further. Going back to criteria, maybe I do want to look at maybe a 5-bedroom home. Let's see what that did. Still 5 matches. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back to a 3 to 4. And then maybe what we're going to need to look for is slightly larger property and maybe some slightly smaller properties. And we still have 5 listings. All right, so what else can we use? What else can we do to distinguish or to find potentially other properties? Sometimes this might be the end-all be-all, and that's perfectly fine. We just want to make sure we're not missing any sort of viable or valid comps out there. So the next piece of criteria that I would go to is our map search, and then I would zoom out. And this neighborhood I know was built in the 2001 era, so I'm going to delete this shape. I'm going to go over here, and you can see there's some more comps that are in here. So let's do a range. And again, I want to make sure I don't want to have to go a full mile out. So there's about a mile. And in that mile radius, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different subdivisions. Let's go ahead and hone this in, and I just want to capture some homes around the area in a few different neighborhoods. We'll go over to criteria. I want to look in the era between, let's call it 1990 to, let's call it 2000. Let's go 2012. We have 9 matches pull up. So let's go take a look at these. All right. I like this a little more. I think we've got a larger range now. But with that being said, we have quite a bit of difference in the number of subjects that came up or things that we can use here. So for instance, these three pending have been on the pending list since I think we started. So I want to show my seller what's going on, what went under contract, how fast it went under contract. I will probably use all 3 of these in my CMA as a talking point. And then obviously we want to have some valid sold comps in there as well. You'll get to know this, and you can go back to the map and search, but I do know that Fall River Circle is in that neighborhood. Red Mountain Drive, Fall River Circle, and then Trail Ridge Road. Deerfield Court, that is in a different subdivision, a little bit more of an upper echelon, if you will. So I'm probably going to leave that one out of there. And then same thing with Red Oak there. But I have 4 properties. And then once you have that selected, just double check some things. Make sure that your total square foot is in alignment. If we have a 2,000 square foot home, yeah, it looks like we're not really deviating from that too much. Most of these are 3-bed, 2-baths, which is great. And then there's that off one, that 3-bed, 4-bath that we included. So again, we would have never included that property if we weren't mindful about playing around with our criteria. So once you have those all selected, the ones that you want to use, what you're going to do is go over here to CMA. Click on your CMA. This is where you can click on your contact's name, or you can create a new contact. We'll create myself for the video. And save. You could put a little description in there, like hope you enjoy this, whatever that case may be. I leave the description blank because CMAs are meant to be presented in person. They're meant to be, they're not meant to be sent through an email. They're not meant to be sent through the mailing service unless you're absolutely strapped, unless you're absolutely can't get that appointment and you think that this would be the best way to land that appointment. So I leave description blank. And then what you'll notice is there's no prompts down here. So the system kind of gets a little different, and we need to go up here and we need to go left to right. So pages, this is where you're going to decide what kind of pages you want in your CMA report. So go ahead, play around with this. You can click on cover, subject, available, and then you can also upload custom pages as well if you have anything that's branded. So you can see here, there's quite a few things that you can do, manipulate and choose. I'm going to go back to my default setting and go this route this way. Subject, so this is talking about the subject property. If you can find an old MLS listing, go ahead and type in the MLS ID here. If you want to search for a property to do an autofill form, you're going to select this, and then you can go through and you can kind of go through and select. One of the things that you're going to notice in this is that you are on the subject property line, and a lot of people are they get hesitant to change any sort of criteria in this manner. By changing this does not change what we just worked on for the last 20 minutes. This simply is a search to find your subject property. I'm a big fan of just when I go into subject, back. When I'm at the subject property, I just want to type in the subject property lines manually because I know the address, the street address. You can do one. This is our old house or our rental. You can do a street direction or name. Street suffix is court. There's no unit number, no building number. Longmont, Colorado, 80504. Whoa. You could put the beds and baths. So that's a 4-bed, 3-bath home. And then the last piece of criteria that I like in there is your total square foot-ish. If you have a photo, you can go ahead and put a photo on here. Some people get creative, open another tab, go to Google Maps, do a street view, take a screenshot and pop that in there. Completely up to you. Sometimes if you're getting real strategic, you can drive by the property before your appointment, take a quick photo of that place and pop that in there. For the purpose of this video, we'll leave it blank. We're going to go over to your cover page. So this is your cover page. You can enter another photo here as well. This is the contact information for the subject or for the person. So it looks like I accidentally put a lowercase k in my last name, so you can edit that there. You can type in the subject property here and have all of that populate for you. Moving right along, this is where all of the comparables that we selected in the first round before we got to this page. So double checking here, yep, all 7 that I selected are in here. If you decide at this point that you want to take or eliminate any, select the ones that you want and click move on. If you don't select any of them, it will use all of those. Going over to the map, just double checking that all of your subject properties are in alignment with your subject property. So Fremont Court's right here, that's the subject that we used, and all properties seem to be within a mile radius. It says warning, subject property could not be mapped. So again, just double check, make sure you're doing things correctly. I feel pretty confident it's right in there. Over to adjustments. This is one where I don't like to put weights on things. I'm not an appraiser. I'm only a market interpreter. This whole adjustments tab, in my opinion, it is open for interpretation. I can see why you would want to adjust. If you had an issue pulling up actual comps that are very close to the criteria that you're using, maybe not. You're going to want to tweak this, but I'd say more often than not, leave all of this blank. Go over to pricing, and this should give you your average. So this should give you your median, your average, your high count, your low count. So again, it seems like after everything was said and done, we still were stuck with a range from 385 to the 420. But that also shows us that our average there is right in alignment with the traditional sales in the market. So even the average has almost a $15,000 difference on the high end and a $10,000 difference on the low end. But again, you are interpreting the market. You're not setting the seller's price. You're just helping them get to a price that hopefully is between these two high and low numbers and close enough to this average number there. After all said and done with that, and you're good with that, go to finish. And now you can go in and you can view your CMA, or you can email the CMA. What I do typically is I email this CMA to myself, and then I take my laptop or I go and print it off and then take that to the listing appointment. You can also save it up here. I'm fairly confident it actually auto saves for you, as I've went through all of this. I've emailed myself the CMA, thought I forgot to hit save and it was still in there. But rule of thumb, obviously, don't take my word for it. Save often and save always. There you go. Saved in there at that point. So you can view the CMA here. And again, once you get into RE Colorado and Matrix and you go into your settings, you can really manipulate how this is going to look as far as the presentation form. So if I would put in a picture, obviously pop up there. You can mess around with colors. You can do all of that and find this very detailed report for you and your prospective seller. So you can save it here. You can print it at this area. If you notice it opened up a new tab, don't feel free to exit out. You're right back to where you started. And so let's say you email this to yourself, you lose the email, you want to get back to it, you log into Matrix, you come up to the home screen here, and you need to find that CMA again. My rule of thumb is if you ever forget kind of where to go ahead and just hover over these tabs, and this is where you'll find any links that you want. The CMA, I believe, is under My Matrix, under CMAs. Yep, there it is. And then you'll see here, Bruce Carley just entered in at 2:03 today. That's the one. View CMA, email CMA, delete CMA, edit CMA. So you can go back and find that comparative market analysis for yourself. Hope this video was intriguing to you. Reach out with any questions and make it a fantastic day. Take care.